After a storm takes place, what is it typically that we do? Or better yet, let me go back a little bit. When a storm is taking place, what is it that we typically do? We seek cover. We seek shelter. We seek refuge. Why? Because we know that storms involving weather can be dangerous. Thunderstorms, snowstorms, tropical storms, hurricanes, all the above, right? Blizzards, you name it. So, what do we want to do after the storm is over? We want to come outside, especially when it's been a long storm. Let's pretend that you've gotten hit by a tropical storm or a hurricane. And those type of storms, unlike thunderstorms or, minor snowstorms, you're forced to stay in the house for quite a period of time for your safety because of flooding, because of debris that might be flying all over the roads, possible tornadoes that can come about from tropical storms or hurricanes, which, by the way, yes, tornadoes can form in tropical storms. Remember, it's a rotation. So your best bet is stay inside. A lot of times we want to go outside afterwards, right? But how many times have you been told that it might be too dangerous to go outside, depending on what your area looks like? And just because your area looks fine doesn't necessarily mean that the area by you looks the same, right? I'm going to give you an analogy real quick. I'll give you an example and then I'll give you an analogy. So I remember we got hit by a hurricane here in Orlando about 2 years ago, right? Or actually, no, I'm sorry, it was 3 years ago. Got hit by a hurricane, and after the hurricane was over, my apartment was flooded, but I was able to drive through it easily. However, little did I know, the roads outside of the apartment, some of them you weren't able to drive through. In fact, they recommend that you don't drive through some of those roads because some of those roads could be washed up, which could in turn create a very dangerous situation for you as a driver. And if the water is too deep and your car can't get through it, you could potentially get swept away. And let's not talk about the other dangers that come along as a result, right? It's a little tip for anybody who might have just moved to a state where you're prone to hurricanes and tropical storms. Why do I bring this up? Y'all might be thinking this is a weather Teachable Tuesdays. No, it's not. This is to remind you that even when your storm is over, sometimes it's best to wait a little while before you go outside, right? Some of you guys have been through many storms back to back. Maybe you've been through storms of heartbreak. Maybe you've been through storms of disappointment. Maybe you've been through storms of rejection. And the sun is finally shining. You're like, you know what? I'm ready to get outside. I'm ready to go do my thing again. But when you're riding out the storm in the safety zone, those are the moments where you pause and you think about how to become a better individual. So you have to be thinking about those things during the storm, in spite of the fact that when the storm is happening, it is frustrating as I don't know what, right? And forgive me if I'm fading in and out. My Nike app keeps going on and off for whatever reason. I don't know why. I'm clearly walking, so it keeps pausing. But anyways, during that time period, it's pretty frustrating because you're thinking to yourself, well, I just want to get out the storm so bad. I just want things to get better. And the sunshine represents that the storm is over and that things are clearing up and that conditions are getting better. But a lot of times we want to be so quick to run outside, but there might still be danger outside even after the storm is over. So when the storm is over, make sure it's safe to go back outside. You might be thinking, well, Marcus, how do I know to do that? There's a couple ways that you can go about doing this. Number one, test the waters, right? Test the waters. Take a look and see if things are favorable for you to try again. I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say you went through a really bad breakup. You were dating somebody for a year and the breakup was horrible. The storm is going to be the recovery of that breakup. And a lot of people make a mistake at trying to go back outside while the storm is still taking place because they can't handle the shelter and it's an unfamiliar environment. And then there are some people, when they think it's clear, in actuality, it ain't really clear. It may be sunshine outside, but God might want you to chill out for a little bit longer, right? So check your environment. Make sure it's good for you, right? Number 2, after you're done riding out the storm, make sure you're ready to go back out in the world. I'm not saying that you should just soak inside for the rest of your life, because that's not what we were created to do. You know what I'm saying? Storms don't last forever. And when the storm is over, eventually you do have to go back outside. But what I'm saying is, don't rush the process to go back outside if you ain't ready. Make sure you're equipped and make sure you're ready. And also, number 3, don't be deceived by people who will drag you back into a storm. I would like to believe that there are great people on this planet. There are amazing people that will always have your best interests at heart. But there are also people who are looking to mess up what you have for several reasons. It could be they're monitoring spirits. That's a thing. It could be they're jealous. It could be their whole life is messed up, so they just want to bring your life down with theirs. Could be multiple reasons. But bottom line is, don't be so quick to jump out the window after the storm is over just because everything looks clear. It might be clear outside, but you might walk around the corner and notice that it's not safe for you to cross the road. I hope that's making sense to somebody. I know somebody probably think I'm speaking in parables. I promise I'm not. I promise you I'm not. If you really just stay tuned to what you're going through, your surroundings, of course, most importantly, connecting to God, you'll notice immediately how important it is to ultimately be aware of your environment. Because when you think about the storm taking place, what does it affect the most? The environment that it impacts. And you are part of that environment. All right? So it's very important to know your environment well. Sometimes you might have situations where debris will come about as a result of a storm. And you got to remove that debris before you can move on. It's kind of like when a tropical storm or a hurricane happens and you notice there's debris around your house. One second. All right, cool, we back. So you notice there might be like debris and stuff around your car, and obviously you can't drive nowhere until you move it out the way. It's the same thing. Or sometimes if the debris is too big, you'll notice that professionals got to move it out the way. That could be a representation of sometimes if the debris is too big to move in your life based on the storm that you're going through, that means God has to go through and move it out the way, right? But you got to stay put and be patient until that stuff is removed. Sometimes a simple prayer of, God, is it time for me to move, is enough to realize and understand, okay, now it's time for me to go. But until then, you got to stay patient. You know, there's an old school church song. It goes a little something like this. And I'm not a singer, but it goes a little something like, wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. If you don't understand the context of that song, it's an old school hymn. And Basically, what it means is be patient. Be patient. It's a song, if you want to know the history about the song, it's a song that African Americans created during the times of slavery. And, you know, one of the ways that they would escape the slave masters was through the water, right? So, traveling by water is, it takes a little longer, especially when you don't have a boat or a ship, right? But it's a representation of being patient. And sometimes you're not just waiting in the water, you waiting in the storm and waiting for things to pass by and waiting for conditions to fully clear up before you get back to business and get to wherever you need to get to. So bottom line, moral of the lesson, just be patient. And even when the storm is over, make sure you're seeking clarity. Make sure it's time for you to move forward and go where you need to go. And then once that time happens, go forth. And then when the next storm comes, rinse and repeat. Take shelter. Make sure you're being safe. When it's clear, check to see for sure if the coast is clear. Again, the sun could be out, down when it's clear, and then go for it. I mean, shoot, the sun was just out when I was walking just now. And now it's raining. So yeah, Marcus Frazier from Teachable Tuesdays here to motivate you, encourage you, and inspire you to be a better you. Love you guys. Hope you have a great day. Talk to you soon.